Almost a quarter of a billion consumers make Brazil one of the most important food markets in the world. But COVID-19 has broken the role that food plays in daily life for the Brazilian consumer. Will Brazil's food industry ever be the same again? Meet Reynaldo Barros, General Manager of Kerry Brazil and Southcon, and welcome to On the Horizon, a podcast series from Kerry Group discussing top-of-mind business issues during the COVID-19 crisis. I'm your host, Damien McLaughlin from University College Dublin. Reynaldo, welcome. Everybody who's visited Brazil understands the role that food plays in that wonderful, vibrant Brazilian culture we all admire so much. How has COVID-19 changed the Brazilian consumers' consumption of food?
Thank you, Damon. I'm very pleased to be with you today. And I think that the key point in terms of the consumers, we have to take into account that the meal occasions will continue the same, but the way that the consumers interact with the meal would be a little bit different. If you go into three pillars about how the consumers approach the food, we can split in three. There is a very well-known market here in Publicis in Brazil that used to split on three. That is the society, the nutrition, and the joy. I think that these three elements are the elements that drive the consumers for the meal occasions. And for society, what we have been observing that there is a very, consumers are looking for more affordable food, given the uncertainty that COVID is causing in terms of the disposable income. This will be one of the changes that we have been observing. In terms of the nutrition, as you know, Brazil, we have a lot of approach in terms of sports and workout, people using the nutrition in terms of shaping our bodies and things like that. And what we have been observing, there is a much more conscious about nutrition in terms of immunity. Consumer looking for this aspect of the food to provide a benefit and really prevent for some situations like the COVID. And the third, and I think that this is one of the key elements of the Brazilian culture, the joy during a meal moment. I think this will be something that we're going to change, because even in the offices when we have the lunchtime, people really enjoy to have the meal together, or in the weekend or after hours that people go to the restaurants or the shopping malls, and it is a way of joining. And this will be the dramatic change on that, because being more to prevent contaminations and all of the social restrictions that we have, actually, the joy of the meal, it is a much more new at home right now. Instead of being in a restaurant for celebrating a birthday party, people is very celebrating with your very nuclear family. Yeah. And what we have been observing that for the future, maybe this will be, you will continue to be at home. This will be the challenge for customers in the food service, how to attract back to the dining rooms the consumers for this really important piece of the meal. And the nutrition and affordability are the other key elements on it.
There are some implications, obviously, for food service. But what about for people selling into the home? The trends are not obvious in terms of pack size and so on yet, but what are the implications of these changes for Kerry's for Kerry's customers in Brazil, and the close by countries, I guess Chile and Argentina as well, which you're also responsible for?
The challenge of our customers and the food service area is how to replicate the experience at home to grab that piece of their business, relevant portion that moved from the dining rooms into their homes. How to replicate the experience in having a Aussie casual dining at home. It's completely different from a dining room. Yeah. So this will be the point, and this will be the challenge: how to preserve the taste, the texture of that experience at home. This is the first thing. Second thing, we have the same customer in the food service, how they attract back the consumer to the dining rooms at affordable prices, because it will be reduced for the social distance enforcements. We'll not have any more 300, 500 people in a dining room. Maybe will be half of the capacity, and there is a cost implication on that. And maybe the disposable income of our consumers are not available for that overpriced. So will be the challenge on food service.
If a person has a meal out, they don't necessarily always bring it home. But if they have the same meal at home and they have a steak or a piece of chicken, if they don't eat it all, they'll save it for the next meal. That has to have some significant implications for food waste. What is your expectation of the scale of change in food waste? And then what's the implications of that for the food industry in Brazil?
If we look hopefully numbers, global numbers and Brazil numbers in terms of the food chain in Brazil, they estimate a wastage of about 30% in some cases. It could vary depending on the type of the food. If you go to dairy products or fresh meat or things like that, for sure the wastage is larger than. When processed food, you have a little bit less than that. But anyhow, the consumption at home the consumers will take care because they will really perceive that they are wasting money if they trash that. And this sensation would impact. We don't have a number. There's a lot of studies going on to measure the impacts of COVID on that, especially in Brazil food service, because at the end of the day, it is a cost for serving that wastage. And impact for the customer, maybe they would experience some reduction on their orders because of that reduction, but it will be a balance. Key point here will be how we offer the solutions for the food industry or for the food service industry to preserve, to gain 1 week more, or to preserve the food characteristics at home. Let's say it is the golden pot of some things could be if we have French fries, how to make the French fries travel through delivery. And going beyond that, fresh fries going through delivery at home, how we can heat that French fries anyhow on a fry pan or in the microwave and get some benefits in terms of the pleasure of the texture and that.
Yeah.
This will be definitely a change on a consumer habits.
So, Reynaldo, the last thing I wanted to ask was, and this is crystal ball time, how permanent might these changes be? Can this great celebration of Brazilian food, which we have all enjoyed, is that gone forever? Or can we expect in a year or two's time to get back to how it was in the old days?
Again, this is the real crystal ball. I think many people in the food industry want to know that. Consumers, you change their habits based on that because we have a very strong external factor compelling that. Could be the income, could be the social restrictions or the social distances, but for sure will not be the same. Many people say about the new normal, this will be different. People will continue to eat, people will continue to look food for society, for nutrition, or for joy, but will be somehow different. And to your point, you made a point in terms of the business reduction based on the wastage. I think that will be a more sustainable business than a business reduction because the value will be over the table anyhow.
Thank you, Reynaldo, for your insights. They're terrific, and we wish you continued success. We have been On the Horizon. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Damon. Stay safe. See you.
I think I've learned 4 things from Reynaldo's comments I thought was worth sharing. First, that we should never forget that the Brazilian and the Latin culture of joy around food is something any of us fortunate enough to be there, have had this tremendous experience. But that is significantly challenged, and that is challenging the food industry in that part of the world. Those firms that wish to deal with that need to focus on ensuring that the taste profile stays the same when food is consumed in different locations, and also that the nutrition value remains high because the consumer is now more concerned about her and his immunity. While volumes of food consumption may be lower, of course, there's a societal benefit from that because we have less food waste. But we also have this opportunity for clever firms that can focus on the preservation of food in fact, to increase the size of our business. The final thing we learned is that while the joy of food in Brazil is certainly not going to go away, the Brazilian consumer will change, and there's a real need for those supplying those consumers to change with them. We've been on the horizon. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.